This is LING 270, Language, Technology, and Society, Module 3, Decipherment. In this lesson, we'll talk about the process of verifying decipherments. So sometimes we can, and when we're doing a decipherment, we can get to a situation where a decipherment seems like it's working, but in fact, it does not really represent the way the way that the writing system actually works. And in this case, we call this phenomenon pseudo-decipherment. So if the hypotheses that we've made give us a decipherment which does not correctly match the true message, we call this pseudo-decipherment. This is how we define this term. And so how do we know if something is a pseudo-decipherment? It means that if it's applied to a new artifact that hasn't been seen before, then it will fail. It will likely produce a result that is garbled and nonsensical. And so because of this, the best way to avoid the possibility of there being a pseudo-decipherment is to use independent verification. And pseudo-decipherments can even happen when hypotheses are well justified. So we can make very good educated guesses, but really just because we've made a good educated guess doesn't mean that our decipherment is actually correct. The only way to determine if a decipherment is really correct is through the process of independent verification. And this basically means applying the decipherment to a new artifact. If the new artifact can be deciphered as well, then that means that the decipherment is more important to be correct. So independent verification is the way to tell a true decipherment from a pseudo-decipherment. And so there are two ways that we talked about that in which independent verification can be done. Firstly, what you could have multiple deciphers attempt to decipher the message and then compare them with each other afterwards. So this was the case with the decipherment of Babylonian. So if we notice that when each of these four archaeologists had done their decipherment independently from each other, they produced results which were very similar to each other. And it's not likely that they would have made similar results to each other by chance. And that suggests that what they found was, in fact, the true decipherment. So this is one way that independent verification can be accomplished. And secondly, which is more common, is to create a decipherment based on one set of artifacts and then confirm it by applying that decipherment to new artifacts that you haven't looked at or haven't seen before, or maybe have been recently discovered, for example. So if your decipherment works for the artifacts that you worked on and then works for artifacts you haven't seen before, that's a suggestion that your decipherment is the correct decipherment and that you are on the right track. So it's this process of independent verification which is really important that actually determines whether a decipherment is true or a pseudo-decipherment. So that's an important thing to know as well.